Now, how did you get out?
So, because it's a long story, I'm trying to
Yeah.
but then she ended up she was taking me in the south of France, introduced me to very rich people. Same things were happening there, and I think she had chosen a pimp for me there. But we had to go back in because she had told me, "Oh, this guy's gonna be your boyfriend," and we all know now that what it means. Yeah. But when she brought me back to Belgium, and I had someone that was driving me everywhere and sleeping in bed at me, always being with me, and I fell in love with him because he was not trying to have sex with me.
Right.
He was giving me affection. I felt like he was protecting me. They were perfect. They were only protecting their merchandise.
Right.
But I didn't know that,
And it's to help people understand, it's easy to fall in love with a man or a woman for that matter if you feel protected or valued or
all I've
loved.
been wanting my whole life.
Right.
I'm 19 years old. I'm laying down next to him and he's giving me affection without trying to have sex. That was the first time in my life. Something I was craving. Sorry. This is harder when people expect violence to be harder. I think I preferred being beat up.
Yeah.
That having someone manipulate you and use your vulnerability of the desire to be loved and known by a man, by your father, or by someone to protect you. And they used that. I was so vulnerable. They used that. They knew I wanted it. I needed it. Yeah. And so he used that. He didn't beat me up. He loved me and fake love. Yeah. And that was what trapped me completely. And I fell in love with him. And he's told me from that girl, he told me like, hey, if you go with her, she's going to use you. If you go back to the south of France. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, she's talking about drug trafficking. He's talking about drug trafficking because I had seen documentaries about how, people get used in drug trafficking. And I knew they were doing drug trafficking, but I didn't know about sex trafficking. So I didn't recognize the signs. Went with him. He loved me for months, being so sweet. I was dancing at a strip club in Belgium every weekend, and the people that owned it were like parents to me. I loved them so much. They were older. I didn't have to have sex with anyone. Well, they were just grooming me to sell me. And what happened is that trying to say the story short while not missing good points. But I was going there every weekend. Really loved them. They were speaking Italian. They took in my informations. They were taking pictures of me. They also were speaking French and Flemish, I think it's how you say in English, because we're in part of Belgium where they don't speak French. Okay. Pimps were coming inside the club, but I didn't know what a pimp was.
Right.
So I thought it was just women that work in prostitution and have someone, that manage them. But it's like not hurting them, nothing like that. But they were controlling me. Don't give your phone number. Don't do anything. And so after a few months of manipulations and being nice to me, even though they were already exploiting me and keeping me awake Thursday to Sunday, one day I go back home and my boyfriend started against the process of breaking me further and starting to be violent and breaking stuff in the house. And I'm like, I didn't do anything. I obeyed everything. I don't know what's going on. So I went into my bathroom, wanted to kill myself, and I felt the prayers of my mom in coming in a room. I can't explain why and how, what it meant, but I just felt it. And I said, God, I have that your will. And God said, what does that cost you to cry out to me? Either you can live or you can die now. Wow. And so I cried to Jesus. And the prayers that I had prayed to God at the age of 9, the first time I gave my life to Jesus, came back to me. Started singing the same worship song, crying, having a moment with God, and say, God, I rejected you. And I don't even know if you really exist. But if you do, I ask you to take my life, take my life, and I will use me for your glory. If you can get me out of there. It's way longer than that, the story. But my desire to kill myself left. But you don't get out of trafficking like that, Right. The 3 following weeks, I almost died a few times. I had to go dance, and I fell off the stage. So I fell off the bar. In my neck, on the border of the stage. I should have died of how violent the fall was. Your neck. And I felt something lifting me up. I don't know why. It was so crazy. The following week, they were drugging me, and they gave me more drugs. And I ended up I think I had an overdose because I ended up passing out. And I was gone for 15 minutes. And when I came back, I was screaming I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I don't know where I went, but I'm so grateful I came back. And they didn't even call an ambulance. They didn't care. If I had died that night, I would have been put in a ditch somewhere. And my mom would not even know where I am. And so that was the second week. And the third weekend, I go back to work, and the lady that was like a mom to me, she said after I danced, I'm going to bring you back to France to my boyfriend. And all the locks were changed. And I'm like, that's weird. And I go in with her. And she never did that. So I go in with her. And she said, my boyfriend looked at me and he said, you go with her now. And I'm like, they shifted their personality.
Like that.
Like that. It's like you had someone that you love to out of nowhere being like a monster. Like almost you have a demon in front of you.
Right.
And I remember falling on the floor and like...
You fell out of just like shock?
Shock. I just like dropped on the floor. It's how like, what is happening? And because of the abuse, the little 5-year-old girl, in my mind, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
What did I do wrong? Like it's
crazy making. And I hope people understand this. The process, the breaking, the re-breaking, it's crazy making at a level that makes a person either want to kill yourself or you give up hope and you're so compliant because you don't care anymore. No. You don't feel anymore. And
I remember her taking me and shaking me and say, you have to be strong. You come with me now. And now they brought me back to Belgium, locked me in the house, sexually abused me. They were breaking me and they were getting ready to send me to Italy. And I was drugged up, bruised up, abused on the bed. And I remember him calling. My phone was still there. I don't even know if I should have been capable of answering the phone, to be honest with you, because of how I was. But I was able to answer the phone, and my boyfriend, which now I know was a pimp, a trafficker, called me and said, crying, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. He said, I didn't want to do that to you. And he said, I really loved you, but I had no choice. And I'm like, they're going to kill me. Like in my mind, I didn't have the concept of trafficking. I just thought I was going to be killed.
Now, looking at you right now, and you can hear it in your voice, you're still emotional about that.
My heart is breaking for him too. And I don't excuse what they did. Thank you. Sorry. I had a lot of healing, but I still feel like
we're human.
The grace of God. Yeah.
We feel.
The only reason why I'm sitting here is because of the grace of God. And this man was also trapped. The traffickers are also trapped. The clients are also trapped. Okay, because this is a spirit of slavery. The enemy, the only thing he wants to do is kill and destroy. Still kill and destroy. Steal your freedom. Kill your soul. Break you. And this is what he did with all of us. And so when I think about it, I'm like, this guy was trapped as much as me. He thought that he was. He believed that he was. I don't know what happened to him for him to think that he had no choice. And he truly meant it when he said he had no choice. The way he was crying,
somebody would kill him, somebody would kill his family. The leverage that
they have,
what I call workers of iniquity or evil people in this. And again, I love hearing you talk about the grace of God for everyone, because it is there for everyone. My father was a pimp, right? So we understand, and he came to faith. And it was instrumental in bringing me to faith, right? And I would say this, that the grace of God is there for everyone. But yet, the reality is for those workers of iniquity that are unrepentant, that are being used by the wicked one and have no desire to change and will die in their sin, you are the ones that we're coming after.
Yes.
You're the ones that we pray God destroys and takes off the face of this earth or puts in prison. To put you to a place of repentance. But for so long, Christians have turned a blind eye to this whole realm and they just don't have the balance, I think, of the grace of God, but the law.
He's also a man of justice, a God of justice.
Which makes him so loving. And we use the lion and the lamb. Our little lion and lambs as a visual of that.
That's true. So being on that bed, I know that girls that they had shared stories with me, like, hey, one of the girls gave her phone number and she was thrown out. So they don't tell you directly, how they manipulate you. Like, don't tell you we threw her out of the window. It's it's just, she was thrown out of a 5th level of a building. And obviously the police will say she's just a drug addict that committed suicide. And it was not so they were feeding me those stories to make sure you don't move.
Don't do it.
Yeah. And I remember praying. I didn't even have clothes on. I only had the underwear they had put on me. I'm bruised up, drugged up, just for you to understand. Only my life was left, what was left of my life, like, to be honest. And I said, Jesus, again, like, if you're real, you're the only one that can get me out of there. And I tried to escape from the back, but everything was completely blocked. I couldn't. I went up into the bathroom, and I remember looking outside, like, if I jump, I'm going to break my leg. They're going to catch me. I can't. And so I had to pass in front of the room where the traffickers were. And I remember praying. I'm like, God, like, again, you're the only one that can get me out of there. And I walked in front of the room. They didn't even see me, which is a complete miracle. I went downstairs, and I remember the front door was always locked. There's no way you get out. And I remember being in front and said, Jesus, if you're the real, you're the only one that can open that door. And the door opened. I was able to run for my life. Like, it's insane, but I ran. Like, I ran with my no shoes on, like, just my life. Like, I ran in the middle of a big road. It was not like a freeway, but it was a big road. It was like, there's trucks, there were like big cars, there were a motorcycle. Nobody stopped. They all got scared of seeing me in the middle of the road. And I remember, like, running until I got into a bakery. And then the police find me, but I was scared of the police because one of the big clients at the club was a judge, like in the strip club. And so I remember, like, them telling me, hey, that guy is a judge. It's hard. They want you to know if you're trying to, like, and then police officers. So guys that came with, like, the hat, the police, like, in Belgium. And so in my mind, I'm like, the police isn't going to help me. It's just going to send me back. And then they didn't speak French. Nobody gave me a translator. They didn't put clothes on me. They treated me like...
Did you have a passport on you?
I didn't have nothing on me. I was, like, almost naked. Like, I only have the underwear they had on me. Nothing. Yeah.
So for people to understand, there are judges, there are police that are crooked and dirty. And that's why it's fearful for girls that are caught up in trafficking to think, well, just run to the police. And there's a reasonable fear of that. When you're praying and crying and just going, Lord, help me get out. Not all girls have the miracle you had, did you?
My mom was praying for me.
See,
I always say, like, people imagine, like, the SWAT team to come and rescue you, I mean, we need people like you guys to come and rescue us, but I feel like my mom's prayers sent angels as a SWAT team to get me out. Like, that's what happened.
And we tell people that even though our organization, All Things Possible, we do recover, rescue girls just like you in different parts of the world. And here in the United States, you're saying prayer is the most important thing.
It's the most important thing. Right now I'm doing a fasting prayer event online. I'm praying and fasting, like, for 21 days. I believe that I had moments when we were praying, and I always say, God, like, before I go in the brothel or anywhere I go, just give them dreams, talk to the girls. Like, I pray for them to, hear God's voice, and we will come as a confirmation. And I mean, I had moments with girls, like, giving their life to Jesus in the middle of the brothel. Like, we're on the floor, like, crying. And, like, the brothel is open. It's not closed, And preaching the gospel. And one of the girls had a dream, like, of me. In her dream, coming to her. And she got out. She was so shocked to see me. She's like, I can't believe it. Like, it was a completely supernatural moment. But that was prayers. I couldn't do that. Like,
you see, I've had the same experience with somebody goes, oh, my gosh, had a dream. You were in my dream, and I saw you here now. And I go, well, obviously that's the Lord
that's definitely
preparing you. And, I will say this. So there are a lot of people that when they hear about counter sex trafficking and they have art, they want to go kick indoors. They want to do the Taken and be the, what's that actor's name? Liam Neeson. But the reality, the most important thing people can do is pray.
Yes.
And we get people ask us all the time. They want to join our teams. They want to join. I mean, hundreds. It's consistent, weekly, monthly, and we tell folks our teams are full, and we have a long waiting list. But like today, this weekend, we had. Former MARSOC guy with 9 deployments, I think, and 2 Delta operators with tons of experience, 1,000 missions. So it's all that aspect is important, to make a team that works, you have to have people that pray.
Absolutely.
And that's their lane they run in from their home or their church group. Pray. You have to have people who give to support because
it costs money.
It costs money. And I mean, we did an operation. It took us a year to actually find this particular monster who had cut off a girl's hand. And, you know, we helped save her life. And she's in one of our safe houses. And now she's involved. But to put teams together to find, then you have the actual on-ground people. Then you have the follow-up people that are going to help someone work through trauma.
Yes.
And that's to me, that's some of the hardest part.
You can't rescue someone physically.
Yep.
Okay? You can't help them get out physically. But only God can heal your soul. Yeah. Only God can completely set you free from trauma and restore you and redeem you fully. But we are called to be God's hands and feet. So we have to be God's love. We have to be the support that they need. We have to hold their hands when they're crying, when they still have nightmares at night, when they're acting out and cussing at you because they're scared of you, because everybody hurt her, so you have to be the one that say, I'm going to be with you as long as you need me to be. And also the girls sometimes are not ready to get out directly. We have girls that we helped for months and months until they were ready to say, okay, I can get out now because of the control that the traffickers had on them. So those girls, you can't go and knock the door out and get them out. Unfortunately, I wish we could. Some of them we joke around. I'm like, hey, can I come and kidnap you now? It's right. They know, but it takes patience. But the most powerful thing is we need both. But you can't do it without prayer. Yeah. Because if not, you're just rescuing a body that's going to go back.
And that's what people have a hard time understanding. That, in any organization that puts too much emphasis on just rescuing, if they're always saying rescuing, it's like, well, what about the rest of it?
The healing, it takes years.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. And are they telling you how many girls will try to go back? Or if you get a girl out and your case is extreme because of Europe and then different countries involved, which that's why I think your story is going to be made into a film to show the truth. But that's what we're trying to do at Everything's Possible, and that's why we've partnered with very limited groups and people and individuals who are doing the real deal. So you're running down the street, you're in basically your body, you're afraid to go to police. What happened?
So the police took me in and started to ask questions, but I couldn't understand what was going on. I was super high on the drugs they had given me too, so I was like,
what do you think they were giving you?
I have no idea.
But it's to make you be compliant.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. I was super weak. And then I remember them trying to ask me questions, but they didn't speak my language. They had to find a translator, but they brought me into the hospital. And then they did check, they saw bruises and stuff, but you're looking for rape, but it's if someone is being you won't find, I don't know how to explain it, but you know what I mean? It's just,
physically, it's not going to be a rape kit.
Yes. That doesn't work because they were just doing whatever they wanted to. So I couldn't fight back. So you're not going to see those marks. I mean, you saw bruises on me, but not you couldn't just show more. And then, they were asking me questions, and they put me in a hospital alone in a room. Never do that. Never leave a girl alone.
Why?
Because I attempted suicide.
Okay.
I could hear there was this battle in my head, die, kill yourself. I kept hearing it, and because I felt they knew where my mom lives.
Yeah.
Even now, it's scary for me when I share my story because they know where my mom's live. They know my family, and it's I really felt wow, if I kill myself first, they won't hurt anyone.
Yeah.
So I tried to attempt suicide. I remember taking the cord of the TV and just struggling myself. And when I was passing out, I heard a cry coming out of my womb, and I have no idea why. And this is funny how my name is Sarah Jane. God gave my name to my mom, and he said it would be a prophetic sign, and it's mother of multitude of nations. Okay, when I scream, I did not scream. God is my witness. I did not scream. A scream came out of my womb. And it was God, the Holy Spirit, that just screamed out of me so they could hear that I was passing out.
So out of your stomach, out of your inner being.
A scream came out.
Yeah.
And so they heard it, and I was already past that. So I just remember opening my eyes when they removed the cord, and it just passed out right back. My mom, when I had the phone, I had time to text my mom and say, "Mom, I love you, but I'm gonna die." And so she tried to find where I was, called and everything. And so she was able to, and I think that's what saved me too, that they didn't send me back, was because my mom was calling everywhere.
Wow.
So they knew that someone knew that something was happening.
Yeah.
And so I woke up from in a robe of restriction.
Mm-hmm.
And the police was there asking me questions.
Straight jacket for those, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they like it's so
a robe of restriction. I just got
we call that in French.
That's very funny. I'm gonna get you a robe of restriction. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. And the police were asking me questions. And I don't remember all the details, but my mom told me they were hiding me in the hospital, so she couldn't find me. She ran everywhere looking for me. She opened the door and she found me with the police, and she said that I was screaming, "Don't say anything, don't say anything." Wow. I was so scared that they would kill my mom. That's why we don't talk. We don't know if you're here to help me. And now it's why, I love police officers. I love law enforcement. I love the military. I love everybody. But we need to work together because those girls don't trust you. They don't know. And there's very good people, but there's also very bad people. And so the good people needs to say, when I have a girl that's there, I need to get a survivor leader. I need to get someone that went through it to sit down with me during the time, if it's possible. When you're talking with the girl's going to talk if we're there. Maybe not directly, but it will help.
Right.
And so got really scared. They let me go. My mom had brought clothes, and they let me go out. And I remember coming out of it's funny too, because the two people that came to help my mom from my church were former Muslims that got saved.
Wow.
And so the son was checking around, making sure nobody was there to come and hurt me.
He knew the deal.
And so he went inside the car, and the peace of God fell on me. And I tried drugs, and I had drugs and everything. Never I got that. And I felt the peace of heaven falling on me. And I remember sitting in the car in the back, and I said, "Can you imagine what just happened to me?" And the lady, the former Muslim woman, said, "Don't worry, you're in security right now." And I remember hearing the voice of God tells me, "You cried out to me 3 weeks before in the bathroom." He said, "I heard your cry, and I rescue you from all your trouble." That's a Bible verse, in a psalm. "If you cry out to me, I will rescue you, and you will give me glory." And I heard that, and then I fell asleep. I slept for days. They brought me back to France in my mom's house. And a man from my mom's church came, and I don't know how long after, because I was so out of it. And I remember sitting on the sofa, and completely destroyed,
Oh, yeah.
And he looks at me, and the first thing he says, and I don't recommend that to people, but it was definitely Holy Spirit. Always listen to Holy Spirit. He looked at me and he said, "First thing, do you believe in Jesus?" In the bathroom, I said, "God, I doubt." In the house, I said, "God, I doubt." And it was Jesus saying, "Do you believe me now?" And I said, "Yes." And I didn't know what was going to happen, but I said yes. And he said, "Can I pray for you?" And as a powerful, black man, powerful man of God, and he put his hands on me. I prayed. And I remember having an open vision of the veil in the Bible that opened into.
Yeah.
And I got completely convicted of sin. There's Sarah Jane before that and Sarah Jane after that moment. I cry out to God, ask for forgiveness for my sins, things I didn't even know were sins, 2 seconds before, got set free of drugs. We went back to get my stuff from the police in Belgium, and there was drugs inside. I didn't even look in the bag, because they were able to go back they found out that the club was where I got out of. And so they went back to get my stuff, okay? So they told us that they had the stuff that they got back from the club. But they didn't do more investigation or nothing. So when I went back over there, got the bag, just to tell you, they didn't do investigation. They didn't even look in the bags. Okay, there's drugs inside. And so we got to the police. They give me the bags and go. No question, nothing, just go. So we left with them, and I had drugs in the bag, and I took the drugs, throw it out of the window. Never touched drugs again. It's been 12 years since I got out. And the traffickers tried to get back into my life, trying to see what I knew, and God protected me from them. And that's a long story, but yeah, they protected me from them. And what I got back, I told my mom, give me a trash bag, give me scissors. And my mom is like, why? Like, just put things in the trash. And I'm like, Mom, I want to destroy it because I want to make sure that nobody uses all the stripper clothes, and that was expensive stuff that I really liked, and I was like, no. And I remember creating it, and I still don't know what trafficking is, okay? I know I've been abused, but I've been abused a long time. So
Right.
you don't know you have a word for it. You don't know you're not the only one. And so I was creating everything, and while creating it, I was feeling chains falling off of my hands. And it's so weird because I didn't know that was the spirit of slavery, but God allowed in me to feel it because He knew my calling. I needed to understand it. And I remember like stealing all the Bibles in the house and like reading the Bibles, preaching the gospel to everybody. When I went back to church, I ran to the church. People are like, "Why are you walking so fast?" I'm like, "You have no idea where I'm coming from." And the pastor was like, "I'm gonna have to baptize you first in the next baptism because if not, you're gonna jump in the water." Like it's like, and yeah, I went to Bible school in Paris a year after that by faith. No money. I just God told me go. I went and started, having my healing journey and counseling every Monday, and every morning for an hour alone with God, I was praying. And I had lost my memory for a year, like blocked it out. My mom's like, "You don't remember anything?" I'm just like, no. Like I realized, and I didn't know that I needed to be freed from all those things, also spiritually and emotionally, like physically. I needed that, and so during those counseling sessions and me spending time with God an hour every day and writing down in my journal, God started to remind me all those things. And I remember in counseling, like sharing my story a little bit, but I was talking about abuse, like, hey, I went for coffee.
Right.
I was people looking at
People
me like,
going.
Yeah, my counselors are like, they knew directly that was trafficking, but me, I was like completely not knowing it. And they prayed. They might have been fasting too, I think.
Yeah,
but
right.
they prayed. They're like, God, she has to understand what's going on. Like she's completely naive, not understanding what happened. And so they were praying, and for a week they told me, and they said, Sarah Jane, do you realize like what happened to you? And I had shared like just a little bit, not everything yet. And I heard myself, the Holy Spirit spoke through my mouth. You know that I had never heard about the term sex trafficking? Never heard about it. Came out of my mouth.
Wow.
And they was crying. They're like, yeah, God told us and you were not seeing it. And so I remember crying and then doing research and being like, oh my gosh, like this is what happened to me. Like I didn't know. And just like it was insane, like realizing like, well, this is not my fault. They were grooming me the whole time. They knew exactly what they were doing. I'm not the only girl to who they did it. My only guilt was to be a vulnerable young woman that had been abused and was seeking love and safety. And I didn't know that only Jesus could do it. Only Jesus was my love and safety. And, I tried to escape. I escaped from my mom's house in a way with my boyfriend. Then I escaped from my boyfriend. I went to that girl's house. Then I escaped from her and I went to that guy's house. And then I escaped from the house. But that was the first time I escaped to Jesus. And that's when made the whole difference.
Listening to your story, my eyes are starting to leak here. And it must be allergies. Because you're able to so amazingly articulate your journey, really to hell and back. And there are people now relating to your story in varying degrees, right? And someone doesn't have to go to the extreme trafficking that you did to realize they need to run to Jesus. They need to escape to Him because of it is a spiritual war.
It is.
That's going on for people's souls and addictions or, and if you hear that dog, these are security dogs, so this is our world. But you really articulate so well the need for everyone to turn to Christ. And I hope this gives people an understanding to the insight, not just to what you hear other stories, watch things. This is the real deal. Because there's a lot of fake, there's a lot of superficial things where people think they know what a trafficker goes through. Someone who's been trafficked, but they don't.
No.
And that's why I'm thankful for you in an amazing, deep way. So here you are now, currently. This is your ministry.
Yes.
This is what you're doing. You're going into the roughest places, the most dangerous. That's why we feel compelled to help equip you.
Thank you.
And to partner with you. But what would you tell people listening or watching this right now? How can they help? Because they're going to be moved and they want to help. Practically, we talked about prayer. Should they sign up on an email list? How does that work for people?
To work directly with me, they can find me on social media or email me at sj@stand4justice.org. Okay. And if you email me, we can connect and talk about how we can partner.
Wonderful. Yes. Now, we've partnered with you, and we're going to put your link on our website as well. And how can our organization, which is it's a big one, doing stuff all over the world, but right here in the U.S., how can we best help you?
Just what you're doing now, giving me a voice, is a big deal. I think a lot of people wants to work against human trafficking and try to do research and then speak on it and call themselves experts, but you didn't go through it. You're not working with the girls. Like, I don't only have my story, like I work with other survivor leaders. I hear their stories and the hundreds of girls that we sit down with and cry with, and you realize like the cycles that they're in, and you have to be able to understand those things and just listen to survivor voices. Like, listen to get educated on trauma, because this comes back to trauma. People are, she chose to, but they don't understand trauma. The idea of choices that you have, you as a healthy person, and the choices that are in her brain are completely different. Completely different. And they don't see the way you see, because trauma shut down stuff in their brain that they can't think the same way that you do. Right. And the only way we can make a difference is by learning all those things. So when you meet victims, you can really empower them in that process.
I love what you said, survivor leader. And that's what we do. We work with survivor leaders like yourself to empower, equip, help resource, and then help you in tough situations. Because, of course, you met Holly this weekend. Great example. She's a survivor leader in Cambodia.
Yes. That
they reached out to us because things were bad. And we do handle difficult cases. But people, we have to unify on this in a way that's smart.
Yes.
That's using wisdom and not going just for the big marketing, because there's a lot of organizations and people out there.
They're exploiting.
They're exploiting those who are exploited. And I mean, I can see it in your eyes. We get very intense about that, because it's a waste of money. It's a waste of time and energy. And
they're not helping the girls.
And they're not helping. And that's what it boils down to.
And it's difficult for us to find. I think human trafficking is, the demand for sex, that is increasing. Human trafficking comes from men. And we need healthy men that say, hey, I'm going to stop watching porn. Because every time you click on that thing, it's not just about you. It's you increasing the demand for a girl to be raped, for a girl to be trapped, for a girl to be beat up and sometimes killed because you wanted that. It's not innocent. It's not just about you or you hurting your wife or your children. The more you're asking for it, the more you're giving business to traffickers. This is exactly what you're doing. You're the one paying for it. And I know you think that you're not doing anything and you will never buy a girl and never hurt a girl, but you are in a way when you're watching porn. And I know this is an addiction. I'm not judging you. I'm not condemning you, but you also have power in Jesus Christ to say, I need help, and go find a man of God, go find people like Victor, or any programs that can help you say, hey, I have an issue and I need help. I can't get out of it on my own. I need Jesus. But you staying in it and continue to increase. And I'm talking Christian people right now, because this is not a non-Christian issue. It's like all of us, and women too. It's like, it's a real deal of the more you ask for it, the more you fall for it, the more it's gonna grow,
It's a
and
greater
you're feeding
demand.
the monster.
We were at the porn convention
Yes, last year.
last year, and reaching out and helping. If people really knew, it's just, I tell men, hey, dude, if while you're watching porn, if you were instantly transported into that scene, your little private would shrivel up, you'd freak out, the lights would be on you, all this fantasy would be, it's all fake. And yet there are people that suffer because of it. Now, I think as we close our time together, we would encourage people to get in contact, to learn, to educate. Be careful of sources that you try to find out about what sex trafficking is. And then kind of an extreme on the other side, we recently dealt with a case with a girl who claimed to be sex trafficked.
Remember?
You remember that one?
They tried to contact me too.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, that is not good.
Yeah. And this girl on social media went from 500 followers to 50,000. Had someone running for Congress promote her because the story was so compelling. The problem is it was not true. And
that's hurting us, the real victims.
So we engaged, and it was a hellstorm because when you got 50,000 people who believe this stuff, and there was definitely blowback against us, but we didn't care. We stood and faced the flamethrowers. But it's that other side. People, be careful, because not every story is true. And although you want to hear stories and help, there are people who will manipulate. There are people who will try to use on the other side. So stick with solid organizations like yours, like ours. There's a few others that we trust and know and work with. And believe me, if they're partners of ours, they're vetted, they're trustworthy, and we will help move the needle. And I'm thankful for our Director of Operations, retired Colonel, Lieutenant Colonel Jeff Teagues, who oversees this aspect of our organization and ministry to help really identify the trauma, the sex, interrupt it, stop it, and then help restore victims. So you guys, go to victormarx.com if you're listening or watching. Find out more. Get on our email list. And we will absolutely continue to introduce and coordinate for people who want to help you directly to do that through your website as well, social media. But thank you for what you do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your courage. Thank you for being the godly, courageous princess warrior that you are. We love you.
Love you too.
Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
All right. Okay, so there's two questions I'd like to ask my guest. The first one is more for promotional and understanding, but what is your perception of Eileen and myself? When you think of us, what do you think of?
I think about safety, strength, and people I can look up to for training and direction. You know, I feel like God really called us to have mothers and fathers in a faith that would be loving and then also here for discipline if I need to, like in a way of directing me to the right path, and also with authority. So like authority is scary for a survivor of trafficking, but you're a safe authority, the one that we need to be able to say, hey, okay, this is where I am at. I'm coming in front of you. I'm not afraid to be vulnerable because I know you want good for me. And I know you will also speak truth for me. I don't need someone to try to be like, hey, you're okay. No, I want to grow. Right. I want to grow. I don't want to stay a victim. I'm not a victim. Like I want, but I want to grow in my healing. I want to grow in my calling and become the woman I'm supposed to become. And if I'm called to be a warrior, I need to be near warriors. But people that do it with the heart of God. So just you both are amazing. Your wife is the most lovely woman and compassionate woman I know. I feel like you're giving me strength and hope to continue the work I do.
I love it. And, there's such kind words, and we feel the weight of responsibility. as God showed us a while back, we would be a spiritual mother and father to many. And we feel privileged to be in that role for you, and we thank God for you, and excited to see the future, right? So last question is, we're all going to die. If Christ doesn't come back, we're all going to die, right? What happens to you after you die? What do you believe?
After death for me, or what my name will have done on earth after
No,
I'm
after
gone?
death for you personally. What's going to happen when you die?
That I will go with God in heaven, and I have no idea what his plan is, but I just know that I will be with him.
Yeah. And what do you base that on?
The Bible.
The Bible?
Yes.
Yeah. And if somebody's wondering for themselves, well, gosh, I don't know what's going to happen when I die, what would you tell them?
Go to Jesus and seek him. The Bible says that if you search God with all your heart, he's going to reveal himself to you. And I mean, like I said, my mom grew up with Islamic religion, and then I learned other religions and tried and searched so hard because she wanted the truth. And God revealed himself. And now we know that we belong to him. And what happened after I died, I will be with him, and then I belong to him. So whatever happens. But it's supposed to be no more pain, no more suffering. And I trust in what the Bible says. But at the same time, the only thing that matters to me is to be with him, because I found love that I didn't know existed before. I found safety that I was looking for, and the unconditional love of the Father. He wants good for me. So whatever happens, it's the best. And that's available for anyone that search him. You don't have to be perfect. You can even doubt. I was doubting. I said it twice. And I was doubting, but he's strong enough to reveal himself. You just have to search. Don't give up. He will show up.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being on our program and sharing your heart and your life and your story. Is powerful. So thank everyone for tuning in, watching, listening. Again, do the follow-up. Process this, but do the follow-up. Put your faith in action, and let's get it done.
That concludes our time together for today. To find out more about Victor Marx and All Things Possible Ministries, visit victormarx.com. There you can click on our mission page to check out all the work that's going on through this ministry. Be sure to visit our video page where you can view Victor's feature film, The Victor Marx Story, and find out more information about the groundbreaking films Triggered Military Edition and Triggered 2, which highlights the impacts of post-traumatic stress and PTSD. All of this and more can be found at victormarx.com. That's victormarx.com. Want even more great content? Victor reaches more than 200 million people each year through social media, so be sure to follow him on Facebook and Instagram. Get connected as an insider and send him a text at 719-824-2386. That's right, text Victor at 719-824-2386 to stay connected. Mobile charges may apply. Thanks again for tuning in today, and until next time, may God richly bless you.